High in the Colorado Rockies, where winter could trap a soul for months and human contact was rarer than gold, one desperate woman made a plea that would melt the heart of the loneliest man in the territory. When Annie Sullivan begged for nothing more than the chance to work forever in exchange for a place to belong, she had no idea her humble request would awaken something profound in a mountain man's isolated heart. What began as a simple arrangement for cooking and cleaning became a testament to how dedication and genuine service could transform two lonely souls into something approaching a real family. Sometimes the greatest love stories start not with romance, but with someone willing to work unconditionally for the right to stay home. This is the incredible true story of how one woman's desperate plea for belonging inspired a solitary man to share the most precious thing he could offer, his name and the promise of forever that came with it. Ready for a story that will touch your heart? Hit that like button if you believe home is earned through dedication. Subscribe and ring that notification bell because tales like this prove that family is built through service and commitment. Drop a comment about what home means to you. I read every single one. The year was 1883, and Annie Sullivan had been walking the mountain trails of Colorado Territory for 2 weeks when exhaustion and desperation finally drove her to knock on the door of the most isolated cabin she had ever seen. Her last hope for survival before winter made travel impossible. The structure sat on a ridge so remote that reaching it had required 3 days of climbing through terrain that challenged even experienced mountain travelers. Jeremiah Stone had been living alone in his mountain sanctuary for 7 years, trapping and hunting in territory where human contact was so rare that months passed without him speaking to another soul. His cabin was perfectly positioned for solitude, accessible only by trails that discouraged casual visitors while providing everything he needed for self-sufficient existence in the high country wilderness. Annie's appearance at Jeremiah's door represented the end of a journey that had taken her across 3 territories in search of employment that could provide the security and belonging she had sought since childhood. Her background included work in mining camp kitchens, railroad construction crews, and frontier hotels. But every position had been temporary, leaving her constantly searching for somewhere she could build a permanent life. The mountain man's initial reaction to Annie's desperate plea for work was skepticism, born from years of avoiding human contact that had previously brought him nothing but complications and disappointment. His hermit existence had been carefully constructed to eliminate the unpredictability that other people introduced into his ordered life, making her request for employment seem like an invitation to chaos he had worked hard to avoid. Annie's offer to work without wages in exchange for food and shelter revealed the depth of her desperation while demonstrating humility that impressed Jeremiah despite his reluctance to complicate his solitary existence. Her willingness to accept any arrangement that provided stability showed someone who had learned that belonging was more valuable than money when survival and security were at stake. Jeremiah's examination of Annie's credentials revealed someone whose cooking and household management skills had been developed through years of practical experience in challenging frontier conditions. Her competence making her potentially valuable for maintaining his operation, while her obvious desperation suggested she would be reliable rather than demanding. Her qualifications were impressive despite her current homeless circumstances. The mountain man's cabin had been designed for solitary occupation with minimal amenities and no accommodation for additional residents. But Annie's quick assessment of the situation led to practical suggestions for arrangements that would allow her to work effectively while respecting his privacy and established routines. Her adaptability and resourcefulness impressed Jeremiah while making her proposal seem more feasible than he had initially assumed. Annie's first meal, prepared in Jeremiah's kitchen, demonstrated culinary skills that transformed basic ingredients into food of quality he hadn't experienced since leaving civilization 7 years earlier. her cooking revealing talent that made his previous self-sufficient meals seem crude by comparison. Her abilities validated her claims about professional experience while making her presence seem beneficial rather than burdensome. Jeremiah's grudging acceptance of Annie's employment arrangement was motivated more by practical appreciation for her skills than by compassion for her circumstances, though he established strict boundaries about her duties and expectations that reflected his determination to maintain the controlled environment that had provided him with peace. His agreement was provisional, subject to evaluation based on her performance and ability to respect his need for order. Annie's gratitude for even conditional acceptance revealed someone who had learned not to expect permanent arrangements from employers who viewed her as temporary help rather than valued employee worthy of job security. Her humble acceptance of Jeremiah's terms demonstrated understanding that she was receiving an opportunity to prove herself rather than guaranteed employment, making her more determined to exceed his expectations through exceptional service. The daily routine that developed during Annie's first weeks of employment allowed both of them to adjust gradually to shared living space, while maintaining the boundaries that made their arrangement acceptable to Jeremiah's hermit instincts. Her efficiency and unobtrusive presence made her contribution to his life beneficial while minimizing the disruption that had made him reluctant to accept her employment in the first place. Annie's determination to make herself indispensable was evident in her willingness to take on responsibilities beyond basic cooking and cleaning. Her contributions including repairs, improvements, and organizational projects that enhanced Jeremiah's quality of life while proving her value as something more than temporary help. Her initiative impressed him while making their arrangement seem mutually beneficial rather than one-sided charity. Jeremiah's growing appreciation for Annie's presence was reflected in small gestures of consideration and respect that acknowledged her contributions while maintaining the emotional distance he considered necessary for protecting his independence. His gradual warming toward her revealed someone capable of human connection despite years of deliberate isolation, though he remained cautious about allowing relationships that might compromise his carefully constructed solitude. The winter weather that trapped them in the cabin together for weeks at a time created intimacy that challenged both Annie's determination to remain a useful employee and Jeremiah's commitment to maintaining employer-worker boundaries that protected his emotional independence. Their forced proximity revealed compatibility that extended beyond professional relationship to encompass genuine friendship and mutual respect that made their arrangement feel increasingly natural and permanent. Annie's winter routine was designed to demonstrate her indispensability through services that extended far beyond basic cooking and cleaning. Her efforts, including everything from mending Jeremiah's clothes to organizing his supplies with efficiency that improved his quality of life in ways he hadn't realized were possible. Her thoroughness in every task revealed someone determined to prove her worth through actions rather than words or appeals to sympathy. The isolation that had initially made Jeremiah reluctant to accept Annie's employment gradually became the foundation for trust and companionship that neither had experienced in years of solitary existence, their shared confinement creating opportunities for conversation and mutual understanding that revealed compatibility extending far beyond professional relationship. Their daily interactions developed natural rhythm that felt increasingly comfortable and familiar. Annie's stories about her previous employment experiences revealed someone who had been searching for belonging throughout her adult life, moving from one temporary position to another without finding the security and acceptance she craved. Her accounts of mistreatment and exploitation by previous employers made Jeremiah understand that her gratitude for his fair treatment reflected experiences that had taught her not to expect kindness or respect from people in positions of authority. Jeremiah's gradual sharing of his own background helped Annie understand why he had chosen mountain isolation. His accounts of betrayals and disappointments in civilization, explaining his reluctance to trust others, while making his acceptance of her employment seem more significant. Their mutual recognition of past wounds created bond that transcended normal employer-employee relationships while building foundation for deeper understanding and respect. The practical improvements Annie made to Jeremiah's living arrangements transformed his functional but austere cabin into something approaching a comfortable home. Her attention to details like curtains, organized storage, and regular cleaning creating domestic atmosphere he hadn't experienced since childhood. Her contributions proved that her value extended beyond cooking to encompass complete domestic management that enhanced every aspect of his daily life. Annie's medical knowledge, gained through treating injuries and illnesses in various employment situations, proved valuable when Jeremiah suffered a hunting accident that required skilled care for proper healing. Her competent treatment of his injuries demonstrated abilities that extended beyond household work to encompass nursing skills that could be essential for survival in territory where professional medical care was unavailable. The trust that developed during Jeremiah's recovery from injury marked a turning point in their relationship as Annie's dedicated care revealed depths of compassion and competence that impressed him, while her obvious concern for his welfare demonstrated feelings that had grown beyond professional obligation into genuine affection. Her nursing skills had literally saved his life while proving her worth as more than temporary employee. Jeremiah's recognition of Annie's emotional investment in his welfare forced him to examine his own feelings about someone whose presence had transformed his solitary existence in ways he was only beginning to understand. Her obvious distress during his illness, making him realize that she cared about more than simply maintaining her employment. Their relationship was evolving beyond professional arrangement into something approaching family connection. Annie's confession that she had come to view Jeremiah's cabin as the first real home she had ever known revealed the depth of her attachment to their arrangement, while explaining her desperate desire to make the position permanent through exceptional service. Her admission that belonging mattered more than wages demonstrated priorities that impressed Jeremiah while making him understand the significance his employment offer had held for someone with her background. The spring season that brought opportunities for Annie to leave, if she chose instead, reinforced her commitment to staying permanently regardless of what other options might become available. Her declaration that she would rather work forever for the right to remain than seek higher wages elsewhere, proving that she valued security and belonging over material advancement. Her loyalty impressed Jeremiah while challenging his assumptions about temporary employment arrangements. Jeremiah's internal struggle with his growing attachment to Annie's presence was complicated by his awareness that her exceptional service and obvious dedication had earned her the right to permanent employment, while his personal feelings were developing beyond professional appreciation into affection that made the thought of her departure increasingly unacceptable. Their relationship was approaching a decision point that would determine both their futures. Annie's continued insistence that she was willing to work without wages for the privilege of staying permanently demonstrated commitment that exceeded normal employment relationships, while revealing her understanding that she was asking for more than just job security. Her plea represented desperate desire for the belonging and family connection she had never known, making her employment about identity rather than simply economic survival. The seasonal changes that brought increased travel and opportunities for social contact with other mountain residents highlighted the unusual nature of Annie and Jeremiah's living arrangement, while forcing both to consider how their relationship appeared to others and what formal recognition might be necessary to protect both their reputations. Their unconventional partnership was attracting attention that required decisions about its future status. Jeremiah's realization that Annie's request to work forever was actually a plea for permanent family connection, rather than simple employment, forced him to examine his own desires for companionship and the possibility that marriage might provide the security she sought, while giving him the partnership he hadn't realized he wanted. Their professional relationship was evolving into something that demanded more formal recognition. Annie's declaration that she would work forever for the right to stay had awakened emotions in Jeremiah that challenged his commitment to solitary existence, making him realize that her plea represented more than employment negotiation. It was a request for the kind of permanent belonging that only marriage could provide in frontier society, where unmarried cohabitation created scandal regardless of circumstances or intentions. The depth of Annie's dedication became fully apparent as Jeremiah observed her daily efforts to make herself so valuable that dismissing her would seem impossible, her work extending far beyond normal household duties to encompass improvements and innovations that enhanced every aspect of his mountain operation. Her contributions had transformed his austere existence into something approaching comfortable domestic life. Jeremiah's growing recognition that Annie's exceptional service was motivated by love rather than simple gratitude for employment created internal conflict between his desire to maintain independence and his acknowledgement that she had earned the right to permanent security through proven loyalty and dedication. Her obvious affection for him complicated professional relationship that was evolving into something deeper and more personal. The conversations that filled their evening hours revealed intellectual and emotional compatibility that surprised both Annie and Jeremiah with its depth and naturalness, their discussions ranging from practical matters to philosophical questions that demonstrated shared values and perspectives. Their mental connection complemented the domestic partnership that had developed through months of successful collaboration on mountain survival and household management. Annie's background in frontier domestic work had prepared her for the challenges of mountain life, but not for the emotional fulfillment she found in caring for someone who appreciated her efforts while treating her with respect and consideration she had rarely experienced from previous employers. Her job satisfaction went far beyond wages to encompass the sense of purpose and belonging she had sought throughout her working life. Jeremiah's admission that Annie's presence had transformed his mountain retreat from a place of exile into something approaching a real home revealed how profoundly their arrangement had affected his emotional life. Her domestic skills and companionship having filled needs he hadn't realized existed during his years of deliberate isolation. Her influence had restored his capacity for human connection while maintaining the peace he valued. The practical partnership that had developed between Annie and Jeremiah encompassed all aspects of mountain life, from food preparation to equipment maintenance, their collaboration proving more effective than either could have achieved alone while creating efficiency that enhanced their quality of life. Their working relationship had evolved into genuine teamwork that made separation seem not just undesirable, but economically disadvantageous. Annie's emotional investment in Jeremiah's welfare extended beyond professional obligation to include genuine concern for his happiness and health. Her attention to his needs demonstrating care that had grown from employment duties into personal affection. Her obvious love for him was expressed through service rather than words, making her feelings clear without requiring verbal declaration that might have complicated their relationship. Jeremiah's reciprocal feelings for Annie were demonstrated through his increasing consideration for her comfort and his growing reluctance to make decisions about ranch operations without consulting her opinions and preferences. His recognition of her expertise and judgment showing respect that had evolved from employer evaluation to genuine partnership. Their relationship was becoming marriage in all but legal status and formal recognition. The mountain community's gradual awareness of Annie and Jeremiah's successful partnership brought invitations to social gatherings where they were treated as a couple despite the lack of formal marriage status. Their obvious compatibility and mutual respect earning acceptance from neighbors who recognized genuine love when they observed it. Their relationship had achieved social recognition that made formal commitment seem natural next step. Annie's confession that her plea to work forever had been motivated by love rather than simply desire for employment created the emotional honesty necessary for their relationship to evolve beyond professional arrangement into romantic partnership. Her admission forcing Jeremiah to acknowledge his own feelings while providing foundation for decisions about their future together. Their mutual love had been expressed through service, but required formal recognition for complete fulfillment. Jeremiah's understanding that offering Annie his name through marriage would provide the permanent belonging she sought while giving him the partnership he had learned to treasure made his decision seem logical rather than dramatic change in their relationship. His proposal, representing natural culmination of feelings and compatibility that had been developing throughout their months of successful collaboration. The winter evening when Jeremiah asked Annie to be his wife was marked by snow falling outside their warm cabin, the domestic scene they had created together providing perfect setting for formal recognition of love that had grown through shared work and mutual service. Their engagement celebrated not just romantic feelings, but proven partnership that had already demonstrated its strength through practical challenges. Annie's acceptance of Jeremiah's proposal was accompanied by tears of joy that reflected both her love for him and her amazement at achieving the permanent belonging she had sought throughout her life. Her gratitude extending beyond personal happiness to encompass wonder at how completely her desperate circumstances had been transformed through one man's willingness to recognize her worth and provide the security she had never known. The wedding of Annie Sullivan and Jeremiah Stone took place in their mountain cabin, with only the wilderness as witness, their vows exchanged with sincerity that made formal celebration unnecessary, while creating the legal and spiritual foundation for permanent partnership that had already been proven through months of successful collaboration. Their marriage represented triumph over loneliness and rootlessness through mutual commitment and genuine love. Annie's transformation from desperate wanderer to cherished wife was accomplished through the same dedicated work ethic that had earned Jeremiah's initial respect, though her status as his spouse elevated her contributions from employment duties to full partnership in all aspects of their mountain life. Her value extended far beyond domestic service to encompass complete equality in decisions about their shared future and operations. The name that Jeremiah gave Annie through marriage provided more than legal status. It gave her the identity and belonging she had sought throughout her adult life, transforming her from someone who moved constantly in search of temporary employment to someone with permanent home and family connection. Her new identity as Mrs. Stone represented security she had never known while validating her worth as someone deserving of love and commitment. Their first spring as married couple brought opportunities to expand their mountain operation through Annie's suggestions and Jeremiah's willingness to invest in improvements that would benefit their shared future, rather than just his individual needs. Their partnership had evolved from her working for him to them working together toward common goals that reflected both their interests and capabilities. The home that Annie and Jeremiah built together in the high country became a symbol of how two people could create belonging through mutual commitment and shared labor, their success proving that family could be chosen rather than inherited when people were willing to work for each other's welfare. Their mountain sanctuary represented triumph over the social rejection both had experienced in their previous lives. Annie's influence on Jeremiah extended beyond domestic comfort to include emotional healing that had allowed him to overcome the misanthropy and distrust that had driven him to mountain isolation 7 years earlier. Her loyalty and dedication had proven that human relationships could be reliable and beneficial when based on mutual service rather than selfish expectations, restoring his faith in the possibility of lasting partnership. The children who eventually blessed their marriage grew up understanding that family was built through daily commitment and service rather than accident of birth, their parents' example demonstrating how love could be expressed through practical action and willingness to work for each other's welfare. Annie and Jeremiah's partnership provided a model of how genuine affection created lasting foundations for happiness and security. Jeremiah's reflection on how Annie's desperate plea had transformed his life confirmed his understanding that giving her his name had been the best decision he had ever made, her presence having restored meaning and purpose to existence that had been functional but emotionally empty during his years of isolation. Their marriage had created fulfillment he hadn't realized was missing from his carefully ordered but lonely life. Annie's role as mountain wife allowed her to use all her skills and experience in service of someone who appreciated her efforts while providing the security and recognition she had never received from previous employers who had viewed her as temporary help. Her marriage had given her the opportunity to build something permanent rather than constantly moving in search of belonging she could never find. The mountain community that developed around their success included other families who had found in their example proof that isolation and independence could coexist with human connection when relationships were based on mutual respect and shared commitment to common goals. Their influence extended beyond their own happiness to encompass broader understanding about the possibilities for creating chosen family through dedication and service. The legacy of their love story became part of mountain folklore as an example of how desperation and compassion could combine to create lasting happiness when people were willing to work for each other's welfare without expecting immediate reward. Annie's plea to work forever and Jeremiah's response with his name had created a marriage that proved love was best expressed through commitment to permanent partnership. Annie's reflection on her journey from homeless wanderer to cherished wife confirmed her understanding that Jeremiah's gift of his name had represented more than marriage. It had provided the belonging and identity she had sought throughout her adult life. Their partnership had created the permanent home she had never known, while giving her purpose that validated every sacrifice she had made to find her place. The mountain cabin, where Annie had first begged for the chance to work forever, became the foundation for a family that proved belonging could be earned through dedication and service when people were willing to recognize worth beyond social status or material wealth. Their home represented triumph over circumstances that had seemed hopeless for someone with Annie's background and desperate circumstances. Their story demonstrated that sometimes the most profound love grew from the simplest requests, as Annie's plea for the right to work forever had awakened Jeremiah's recognition that what he really wanted was someone willing to share his life permanently rather than temporarily. Her desperation had revealed his own loneliness, while her dedication had proven she was worthy of the name and belonging she had sought so desperately.